Hello and welcome to Swim Segments. I'm your host, Brandon Oates, also head coach of the Belleville Beast swim team. On this week's episode, we've got the head coach of the Orangeville Otters and 2000 Olympian, Rob Taylor, as well as Beast alumni and freshman of the year at Niagara University, Noah Brooks. Before we go in and check with Coach Nyden, I want to mention that we have a Just Keep Swimming photo/video challenge, and we're trying to keep it as simple as we can. So all we're asking for is you to send a picture or a video in of yourself with your Beast cap on and goggles and wearing a swimsuit or any Beast attire, and that's it. You can do whatever else you want with the picture, but we're going to put a little slideshow together out next week, so please get your submissions in as soon as possible. We've got one more episode next week, and that's it, and we'll be signing off for a little bit. But Coach Nyden and I will make sure to put a few things out here and there. If you aren't keeping up with Kristen's Dryland Bingo, please do so. So that's pretty much it. Let's get into it. Let's go check on Coach Nyden. So Coach Nyden, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much, man. Just enjoying the long weekend that's underway right now. I'm going to have some fire pits outside, and I have a little golf course I created, so I'm going to hit some golf balls.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I saw that. And badminton up and stuff?
Yeah, we got badminton. I just need more people to play with, so hopefully COVID wraps up soon so I can invite some people over.
Yeah, no doubt. I want to get down there and check that place out for sure. I haven't even been there since all the renovations are done and everything. So
right.
We'll get there soon enough. After the weekend, though, last two episodes of Last Dance.
Right. It's big. I've been loving this series every step. The last two episodes, the last episode especially, when he got all emotional about how competitive he was, I thought it was the most brilliant athletic thing I've ever seen ever. So I love that, and I can't wait for the finale just to see how they won those titles in '98 to wrap everything up. But it's perfect.
Rob Taylor from the Orangeville Otters, the head coach there, as well as he's an Olympian. And we also got Beast alumni and Niagara University freshman year, Noah Brooks, too.
Nice.
So it'd be pretty good. So it's our second last episode. Still going to try to push through with some more segments like this. Hopefully we'll be able to get together, do some things. But we've got this. What do you got in store for us on this show?
Well, I've tried to give advice. I know you've tried to give advice, and Kristen gives advice. So I just thought, you know what, maybe we should give some advice from one of the best swimmers of all time, Michael Phelps. Hopefully that connects with people. So if you hear it from the greatest of all time, I just thought, you know what, Last Dance, Michael Jordan, Michael Phelps, I just thought this might be the best way to relay some information to some of the swimmers. So it's going to be just 5 tips on what Michael Phelps thinks is the most important things to do in swimming.
Perfect. Well, that sounds awesome. Again, next week we'll have a little different show. Our last show, we've got a few athletes coming on to talk at one time, and then we're going to do a little thing with the coaches too, and get the whole staff together and chat about some things. So should be really good to finish off, and then we'll continue doing some things like this. Hopefully, instead of over the Zoom, we'll be doing them together somewhere out in the camp or something. Go from there.
Sounds great, man. I have 100 yards for you to go hit some golf balls. So anytime you can come by. Bye.
That'd be perfect. All right. Well, take care, man. We'll talk after the weekend.
Take care, Coach Oates.
Welcome to the show, Olympian and current head coach at the Orangeville Otters Swim Club. How you doing, Rob Taylor?
I'm doing well, Brandon. Thanks a lot for having me. Appreciate the invitation today. How are you?
Good. Well, thank you so much for coming, and I'll start right with it. Like, team life treating you, being at home with your kids all day, and you know, doing during the little downtime that you do have.
Well, it's been busy. Luckily, I was prepared for this. I have a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. My 1-year-old's gonna be 2 in just about 7 weeks, I guess. So. We're busy, but for a couple of years I was at home with my older son when my wife was at work, and of course coaching morning and night practices. So it's been pretty busy. We are lucky in that I don't think the schooling for my older son, who's in senior kindergarten, is as difficult as it is for a lot of other parents. There aren't long lesson plans. He's learning how to read. He's in a French immersion program, and my wife is bilingual, so that helps. I mean, I was okay at French, but you know, if you were a little bit older, I'm sure I would have had some problems teaching him. But we're busy during the days, as I'm sure all parents are. I'm doing some Zoom calls with my swimmers here 4 times a week. For downtime, I guess Alyssa and I just kind of relax at the end of the day and, watch. We're watching Ozark. We were watching Homeland. We just kind of just sit on the couch and just relax for an hour or two in the evenings. Then reload for the next day. Our kids are up pretty early, as I'm sure your kids are, 6:30 or so, 7 o'clock, we're on the go. So long days, but that's okay. It's nice to be home with the kids. Just reminds me of August, I guess.
Orangeville Otters. You've been there for a few seasons now, right?
This was my fourth year.
Fourth year, okay. So maybe you could tell us what you like best about coaching in Orangeville and the accomplishments the team's had over the past 4 seasons. And I know you already touched on it a little bit, but what your swimmers are doing today and what your are for going forward.
Absolutely. So, my fourth year in Orangeville, when I was brought in, I was told that the club wanted to have their kids swimming a little bit more often to try and change the program a little bit. The former head coach, Ann, who really built the club up to what it was going to be retiring. So when I came in, I was lucky. I had a really good board of directors, so that was helpful for me to instill my vision of where I wanted to take the team. So there was buy-in from the board right away. It took maybe a little bit longer for the swimmers to buy in because I changed a lot of things. I got them more pool time. We had a weight program, a dryland program, some other things. But once the swimmers started to realize that their efforts were being rewarded with a little more success in the water, that was helpful. So I would say I walked into a situation where I had a good board and I had open-minded swimmers as well. So I think I was very lucky in that I came to a program and I came to an area where people wanted a little bit more, and I was willing to give them that. So I think the situation worked well where, my vision for the team and the type of training and where we're going really fit well with the board of directors and the swimmers. So what do I like about it? Well, first off, I'm really, really happy to work with the swimmers, right? I miss the swimmers. They're really good kids. I've been lucky in that regard. I've got a very good group of swimmers that I'm coaching, and some who I'm coaching this year, I started coaching at the age of 9. I've had for 4 seasons. So, I've developed good relationships with the swimmers over those 4 years. So it's really strange, I guess, not to be working with them on the day-to-day aspect in the water, the way that we would normally. I was lucky also in that the board was keen to do some of the things I wanted to do until we got an underwater camera. We had Tritonware for a while. We looked at getting our own weight room, but they were open to spending a little bit of money to get some new things. We got the OSB 11 blocks for our pool. When I found out that our blocks were technically not legal, they sat 2 or 3 inches beyond the edge of the pool, and I thought, what's going on? So we got some new blocks. My swimmers right now, they're running Monday and Friday. They're biking Wednesday and Saturday. The running is, I'll tell you about the program in a sec. On Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, they're doing upper body plyometric work and bands and core work, and then stretching their upper body. On Saturday, they do a full body stretch, I guess, at the end of the week. And of course, with their upper body days, they're alternating between weights and plyometrics if they have access to a weight room. Now, at first, when we thought this was only going to be 3 weeks, we did a very basic kind of program. And then when we realized it would be longer, I started looking for ways to make it a little more interesting. And luckily for us, we have Richard Patey on our staff. He was a world-ranked triathlete. He was second to Simon Whitfield multiple times. He would have been an Olympian in '96 if Canada had 2 spots, but they only had 1 and Simon took it. So I really kind of leaned on Rich to help me with understanding how best to get a program that would be suitable for swimmers with biking and running, because that's not my forte. That's more something that he is strong in. So now we decided that we were going to have the swimmers follow the regular training schedule of the season in terms of the focus of energy systems, and we're going to give them tests. So they're being tested every time we're supposed to have a meet. They have some kind of a physical test. So we were supposed to be at the MAC April Invitational a few weeks ago, and I gave them a running and a core test on Friday, a biking and a core test on Sunday, and then the Saturday they did push-ups and chin-ups, fly pulls. And for this phase of training, we've decided to give them a focus for each day when they're doing their bands, they're running or they're biking. So they know what kind of energy system and the effort level they're supposed to put into it. So I use my biking to train primarily for the 8 and the 1500. The running is geared a little bit more to the 2 and the 400, and the band's a little bit more towards the 100 and the 200, just to keep things interesting for them. So they're pretty busy. It's tough to monitor, from afar, and I'm really concerned that the kids are going to hurt themselves if they're not used to running or biking. So they modify things as needed. They take days off as needed, but I've had pretty good attendance from the swimmers, and that's one of the things I think I'm most proud of is how much the swimmers have bought into what we're trying to do here. We've had success every year. We've been growing. I think our numbers grew every year until this year. We were a little bit less than we were last year, but some of the things I'm most proud of is we set over 100 club records each and every year. I think every single 10 and under club record in club history has been broken on guys and the girls side. I think on the short course side, we only have like 10 club records left to go. We were 12th at the last 2 provincials. That was pretty cool. I was hopeful that this summer we might be able to sneak into the top 10. Typically, with the way the birthdays are for our swimmers, a lot of them are born in August and September, so we're a little bit better in the summer. So that was a personal goal of mine, was to see if we could squeeze in there. I didn't know if it was possible, but we were kind of knocking on the doorstep. And we won our regional meet this year, which was pretty surprising, to be quite honest. When I arrived here, Barrie had such a big team compared to us. I think 2 years ago they sent double the swimmers, but one thing that really helped us was that we made the standards harder. So we eliminated a lot of the volume of kids that Barrie was sending. So it was kind of like our top swimmers versus their top swimmers. They didn't outnumber us this year by double. They had like 65 and we had 55. So it was a little bit more fair in terms of numbers. But when I arrived, I never thought that'd be possible, just because they had so many kids at the meet, and we weren't at that level, right? We had kids who just needed a few years of aerobic development, technical improvement, and things like that. So it has been a lot of fun the last 4 years. Certainly seen a tremendous amount of growth from the team, and I'm keen to see what we can do in the next 4 years.
To always see Barrie dominate that, I would have never guessed that actually another team would have regional crown, because for as long as I've known, I would have just always put money on Barrie to do that. So that was very cool this year to hear about.
Thank you.
It was just something that was kind of unexpected, and I know you guys have been climbing up the ranks there too. So pretty cool on that aspect.
And going back to the regionals, I never thought that we'd win, and I had food poisoning that weekend. It's a very unpleasant weekend for me. I didn't eat a single thing on the Friday, Saturday, but I stayed on Sunday just to see. I had calculated it the night before because we had mixed relays, because all the kids wanted to do it, and previously we hadn't done that. Now, we would have barely won without the mixed relays, but I just stuck around even though I wasn't feeling well, just to watch, just to be there when it happened, because Rich was going to be there, and he's been with me all 4 years. I just wanted to be there when the moment happened. It was, like you said, it was a big surprise. I never thought that would have happened. So a testament to the kids, really, and what they've done over the last 4 years.
So let's put Orangeville on a hiatus here right now, and we'll talk about it at the end. But let's go to your swimming career, and you tell us about joining the 2000 Sydney Olympic team, and ultimately what was it like to achieve the Olympic dream?
Sure. So I'll backtrack a little bit. I swam at Cobra for, I guess, 10 years before I got to the Olympic level. But I was lucky. I always got to watch Stephen Clark at practices. And then at 14, I swam in his lane with him and Rob Brackness, and they used to make me go first, lead the lane, and then they'd be like swimming on my feet the whole time. But I was lucky because, I grew up, I think, believing that it was possible for me. I had broken some of Stephen Clark's club records and was chasing his club records throughout a lot of my swimming career at 10, 12, 14, 17. And so I really thought that it was possible if I just was able to kind of match or be a little ahead of where he was. I made my first national team in 1998. I was third in the 100 freestyle at the national championships, and I got selected to the Commonwealth Games. So I got to compete for Canada. My first time was Stephen Clark's final time. We won a silver medal in that relay, so that was really cool. The next year was tough. One of my teammates had died. couple of my teammates had left. We'd won youth championships as a men's team that year, and I had lost almost all my training partners and friends. So motivation was pretty low. I didn't swim very well that year, right? I didn't put the effort in. So reloading for the Olympic year, I was really, really dedicated that year. Probably the best year I ever had in terms of attendance, effort. I put everything into that, knowing that you never really know if you're going to have another shot. So I went to trials. I was 100% sure I was going to make it because of the times I'd been posting in practice relative to what I'd done 2 years previously. It's actually disappointing. I didn't think I swam all that well at trials. I didn't feel right in the water. I felt like I had maybe a little more taper time than I needed. And I actually would say that I felt really, really good going into the meet and not so good at the meet. But regardless, I made the team. I'd say I was probably the only person to make an Olympic team that was pissed after they made it, because Rick Say beat me by 3 100ths to the podium. And I wanted one of those individual spots. I only made the relay, and I was trying to be there with Yannick Lupien and Craig Hutchison for a spot in the individual 100 freestyle that year. But looking back, certainly very thankful that I made it. What I say to people now is it's really too bad that not every single amateur athlete gets a chance to be at the Olympic Games, because it's unlike any other competition you could be at. The magnitude of it is just insane, right? You've got media, you have the whole world there. You know that all eyes are on the Olympics, and certainly people are looking at all the various sports. Track and field probably takes more than its fair share of interest from people. But swimming is under the magnifying glass like it never is. And I get goosebumps now thinking about walking out in Sydney, swimming the 4x100 free relay with my teammates and seeing 18,000 people in the stands. You never get to see that in swimming. And swimming was just a huge event because Australia's team was phenomenal in 2000 with Grant Hackett, Ian Thorpe, Susie O'Neill, and Michael Clem, various other people. It was a really big deal. So I really wish that all people could get the chance to feel like, a lifelong dream had been accomplished, and to feel that kind of sense of pride and to be quite honest, the adrenaline rush of being at the Olympics and swimming in front of that many people. And it's also, I would say, another feeling completely of pride, just to be able to represent your country. It's, when you're going through it, maybe things are going by so fast, but when I look back on it now, it's pretty cool. I'm a proud Canadian. I love my country. I always have loved Canada. I mean, I grew up, going up to a cottage country and kind of lived the Canadian. I played hockey for years, and I'm proud of our country. So it was really cool to be able to wear the maple leaf for those couple of times. And the Olympic Games, wow, it's certainly an exciting experience.
Let's maybe chat about what happened after, August 2000 to 2008, and maybe let's start too with, say, what it was like to be an Aggie down at Texas A&M, and your time with Western, and situation around the 04 Athens Olympics trials and stuff like that, and go into detail there.
Absolutely. So the next 4 years for me were very strange with swimming. What people wouldn't know is, leading up to the Olympics in Sydney, I tore my bicep tendon in the gym doing weighted chin-ups and lat stuff. Doing straight arm freestyle for a little while, and that led to some shoulder problems, which really kind of materialized, around the Olympics. And so I had a modified training program. I had to do some shoulder rehab in 2000, 2001. So from September to December, I was out of the water, rehabbing my shoulder, letting my bicep tendon heal. And then because I had withdrawn from high school, once forced to, because I missed too many days to be allowed to get the credits, even though I had mid-80s average, and then another time voluntarily knowing right before the Olympic trials that I was going to miss too much of training camps. I was a year behind my peers, so I needed 3 more credits. So I went back to school, went down to Texas A&M, and I'd been recruited through the Olympic year, hadn't made a decision. I had anticipated going somewhere warm for a long time, because that was just something I wanted. I wanted to kind of get away from the winter cold. And so I was looking at Cal Berkeley and Stanford and Florida and Arizona State. I found out quite quickly that I wouldn't be able to afford some of those really big schools, but Texas A&M was really good at the time. Matt Rose and Riley Janes were there. And Riley and I had become pretty good friends, and I'd known Matt for years, swimming with Lindsay and Trent. So I was really comfortable going down there. I thought we'd have a great Canadian contingent. I found it tough down there, to be quite frank. I was swimming fly and IM. I didn't go down there to get to swim freestyle and backstroke because Matt and Riley were swimming those things. And I just happened to be the best butterflyer at the time and one of the better IMers. I swam in middle distance lanes my first year, and it was strange, right? It didn't really fit the way that I'd expected. Days were long. It was tough. I didn't have a lot of fun. I didn't really enjoy living in rural Texas. It was very conservative, quite religious, and those are two things that I'm not, at least in my personal life. Without going into too much detail, but I felt like I wasn't really appreciated there at all. I was just kind of used in the way that the coaches wanted, and I wasn't swimming a program that I had anticipated doing. I just wasn't happy. I remember vividly the day that I asked the coaches to release me from the program. It was very strange, but I wasn't enjoying swimming at all. I loved my teammates, and I enjoyed the traveling and the competing. And it wasn't necessarily the practices or anything like that. I just wasn't training and doing the things that I was used to doing that I liked about swimming, and it was no longer really very much fun. So I was at Texas A&M from 2001 to 2003, and then I came back home to swim with Bill O'Toole for the Olympic year. Basically, I just thought, well, I'll figure out what I'm going to do. I didn't want to go to a program where I didn't know the coach or what to expect in particular at that point in time during Olympic year, and I'd done well with Bill. That year was probably the worst year of my swimming career. I broke my wrist in September of 2003, so I started the year with a cast on my hand, and I was kicking, and eventually I just got frustrated, so I took tin snips and I cut it off, and then I swam a practice, and I will never forget that I lost my wrist strength, so my wrist kept just flopping in the water because I didn't have the forearm strength to hold it properly. So then I learned, and I started taping it like a boxer would to keep my wrist straight. My surgeon or whatever, the doctor at the fracture clinic, was pretty upset with me then, but I thought that was going to be my final year. Yet I had a nagging knee injury that I really wasn't sure about. And it kept bothering me. So I had an MRI in December and realized that I had torn the cartilage in my knee and had a little bit of bone on bone grinding. So I either had the option of having a surgery or not, and just recommended that I have it before it got worse, right? That the cartilage tore more. I had like little bone fragments kind of surrounding the area that was causing inflammation. I'd been told it was tendonitis, so I'd been doing physio for a little while and it just wasn't helping. So I decided to have a knee surgery. I had it in January of that season and was out until March. So going into Olympic trials in 2004, I knew I didn't really have a realistic good chance of making the team. I wasn't sure how I would do. Looking back, I'm actually kind of proud of myself for how I did. I wasn't doing any kick sets. Half the time we were swimming, I was pulling. I was great pulling, but I had no legs. I had no fitness. I just wasn't really anywhere near where I had wanted to be. So now 2004 was tough. I watched a whole bunch of my teammates, Riley James and Matt Rose, made that team, right, swimming with Texas A&M, and then they were, I think, out in Victoria that year. I watched a lot of my friends get on that team, and it was fun to watch them, but it was tough to watch them sitting at home. I certainly didn't have the lead up I would have wanted, and so after Olympic trials, I retired. I thought that was it for me. I just thought, at that point in time, I'd had enough. I was frustrated. I hadn't swum well. I was injured. I just thought, well, forget it. I'm done. So that was it for me. I thought, anyway.
Go in the next 4 years. Kind of take us briefly over that. Right into that moment where you were at that swim off with Jake Tapp, and what the feelings were that went through you, the highs and lows through that time up until that moment.
Probably the greatest and worst feelings of my swimming career. I guess in 2005, my mom actually had been in the hospital. She had a pulmonary emboli in her lungs and was on disability. And my dad, people wouldn't, maybe some would, but he was an alcoholic and hadn't worked for like 10 years. So my brother and I, while we were at home that Olympic year, had been working full time, trying to help pay the mortgage. My brother at White Rose, and then the beer store, myself at Home Depot. So when my mom went back to work, starting to figure out, okay, well, what do I want to do? You know, I realized that I'd missed swimming. I'd been out for about 6 months. So I decided that I was going to stay in Ontario and look at U of T or Western. Brad Vanderkam's a very good friend of mine. I've known him for years. He was swimming at Western. I found out that Curtis Miller had transferred from Hawaii to go to Western. And I thought, wow, if I went to Western, you know, with Brad and Curtis Miller, that'd be a couple of really good guys to swim with who I know, and one who's a really good friend. So I moved down to London in January of 2005. Went to Western for a couple of years. I swam okay there. I was second at nationals in 05 at Connaught Trials. Tried to make that 50 back time I just missed. But again, I was frustrated with the training. You know, there wasn't the coordination between the head coach and the assistant coach that I would have expected. The head coach at the time was also coaching LAC. I put a lot of effort into that program, and I didn't get the results I had expected. And, you know, to be quite frank, I was frustrated because I was old, right? I mean, I thought I was old. I was 25. I didn't have a lot of time to waste. And I wasn't swimming that well. So I started doing my own dry land program, which I'm sure they were upset about, but I swam pretty well doing that. I went to CIs my first year. I won 3 medals, I think. Swam pretty well. But, you know, went back to the full training program, and things just weren't working for me. You know, it just wasn't the program that was right for me. I was used to a sprint program with a lot of weights and a lot of dry land, and I just wasn't training that way at the time. Now, I'm sure I was a little out of shape aerobically, so I needed an aerobic push too. But anyway, I loved swimming at Western. I had a lot of good friends who did quite well there first year, but it wasn't working for me. And, you know, I started skipping practices to focus on school. And it got to a point where I was unhappy, right? I wasn't training well, wasn't going to training sometimes. Coaches were frustrated. And I got kicked off Western and LAC because I essentially quit on the program, told the coaches they didn't know what they're doing, started focusing on school. And not a lot of people would know this, but from January 2007 until like July or so, I was swimming by myself. I was swimming in lane swims, writing my own program. I was lucky. Bill O'Toole was a big believer in me. He started sending me practices when I reached out to him because it got tough after 3 or 4 months of swimming on your own in lane swims on a schedule that's strange. I mean, if you ever go to lane swim as a former swimmer, you know, they don't like you as much as you don't like them in their lanes. So I went back to Brampton. I tried swimming with Bill again for a couple of weeks, and I realized very quickly that I was just too old. I was 26, swimming in a high school program, and I love Bill. He's like a surrogate father to me, but I just couldn't do it. So I had been reaching out to Pierre Lafontaine throughout the summer to see if I could go to Montreal. I had heard that Paul Bergen was there, and I thought, well, Paul's, you know, an elite coach. He's coached many Olympians, world record holders, Olympic medalists. And I thought, I'm out of shape, certainly aerobically, and I know he'll give me a kick in the butt. But if I could go and just focus for a season or half a year, that I thought I'd have at least a shot at making that team. So I started emailing Pierre every day. The same thing. I just sent the same email, just kept cutting, pasting, send it. And I think after maybe a week of me sending it every day, he said, just go, man, just go out there. So I moved out to Montreal in October of 2007. I swam with Bergen for 6 months. I was out of shape. He called me fat boy when I got there because 8.2% body fat. I got down to about half that much, and then I was too skinny. But we did a lot of training. It was a shock to me. We were swimming 11 times a week at first, and then 10. We went to a training camp where we did triples. We did 3 practices, 3 practices, 2 practices, 3 practices, 3 practices, 2 practices. I mean, it was a lot. I swam a lot in that 6 months, and I learned a lot about myself. I swam a lot more than I'd ever swam before. Going into that trials in 08, swimming at the Olympic pool, very comfortable. It was where I was training. I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. I'd swam so much more than I ever had in a 6-month time frame, but I was so out of shape to start. I really didn't know how I was going to do. You know, a lot of the other times I was swimming career, I had a pretty good idea of where I was physically and what I was going to do, but at that point in time, I had no idea. I remember swimming the preliminary 100 back and thinking, wow, it's here already. Like, we talked about time flying earlier on. It really seemed like those 6 months just went by really quickly. After the morning, I was fourth. And I remember going up the stairs at the Montreal Olympic pool, seeing my family, because this was going to be either I made the Olympic team or I retired. Right? I was 27. I wasn't going to swim any longer. And they asked me what I thought I needed to do to get on the Olympic team. And I said, I just have to win a race. No one had gone really particularly fast. I knew Matt Rose and Jake Tapp, Matt Haas were going to be fast. I thought Cal Ming would be in there. I knew Keith would provide a challenge. I knew they were good swimmers. I didn't really know where anyone was with their swimming, including myself. So before that final, I was really nervous. I just thought, well, this is it. This is my one last chance, really. So I just got to get in there and win a race. I remember the first 50 or so, feeling pretty good, getting to the wall, knowing I was right in the mix. And then the last 50 was just everything I had. I don't remember really feeling anything the last 50 at all. Now, when I touched, I guess because I had won to the 1,000th or whatever, my name was on the board by itself. So I just thought I'd outright won the race. And it was probably the biggest high I ever got in swimming. It was so exciting. I couldn't believe it. I was a little bit shocked because I didn't really know if I could do it. And so I was really excited. I was pumped, man. I was celebrating. I thought, wow, I actually did it. Wow, it's incredible. I can't believe I moved out to Montreal. I mean, I put my life on hold. I left university for a year. I sold my car. I ended a relationship. All these things happened, and it worked out. And about 30 seconds later, I realized, no, I'd actually tied. And I didn't know what that meant. I just thought we were both going to go. I hadn't really thought about the FINA AB rule. Found out later that evening that there was going to be a swim off with Jake, and I thought, okay, well, that sucks, but I was so excited. I thought, well, let's do it now. Let's go again. We did it the next night, the first race, and I don't think I slept that night at all. Going home, when you lie down and your mind just doesn't stop. I remember lying down and closing my eyes probably for about 7 or 8 hours. I don't think I slept. Went and did a warm up in the morning, kind of a swim down, and then that night went back. I was really hopeful that we were both going to make it. I thought we were only 4/10 off the FINA A time. Thought we could both do it. Well, I wasn't really sure, but I thought we could both do it, right, with a little bit of extra adrenaline from the swim off. Got in the water, and I remember I didn't have a very good start. I think most of what Jake did, he beat me on the start, and then we just kind of swam evenly the whole way through. Touched the wall, saw that neither of us had done the time, and I could tell that he'd won. He was 2.5, like 25 100s ahead of me. I knew that he'd won the race, so that was tough. I mean, when I touched, I was kind of just hoping at that point, because I knew I'd lost, that we'd made the time. Saw that neither of us did again, but that meant that he was going to be going, and that was tough, right? I thought, wow, all the things I've been through in 20 years of swimming, injuries, retiring, being, kicked off a couple teams, swimming on my own the previous year for 6 months was all for naught. But, looking back at it, I'm really sure I didn't have the lead up that Jake had. He probably deserved it more. He'd probably been a lot more consistent being down in Arizona over those 4 years. And I'm just thankful, really, that I was able to go to Montreal and swim for those 6 months. Like I said earlier, I learned a lot about myself, about my passion for the sport, about my commitment to the sport in those 6 months. And even in the months where I was swimming on my own, writing my own workouts, a lot of people probably wouldn't have done that. So it was really tough. I certainly wanted to be a part of that team. It was hard watching the race go in Beijing, seeing some lanes that were not filled, and knowing that there were guys. I mean, if you ever watch the Olympics, guys who get, they one swimmer per country, because no one makes a FINA B time from the country, and you get guys swimming 100 back or going like 2 minutes. You think, well, I could have been in there. But those are the rules. That's sport, right? You can't win them all, right? There are highs and lows, like you said. So I went from probably in 24 hours from the biggest high to the biggest low in my swimming career. It was pretty tough. I still had 3 more races to do at the meet, which were difficult. The focus was not there. It was really, really tough to go through those final 3 swims. just because I knew the 100 back was my best shot. I thought maybe if I had a great swim in the 100 free, I could get under 50. But it took a 49.8 to get into finals. And I don't think I had that in a preliminary swim. I don't think I would have been on that relay regardless if that race had been first. So that was tough way to end my career.
Through swimming and as well now as a coach and what you've been doing with your athletes and stuff too, what advice can you give to swimmers during this difficult time and going forward?
I think it's really important right now that swimmers understand that, this is a very strange situation, right? It's unprecedented, as you'll hear the Prime Minister and Premier say, at least in our lifetime, right? I mean, I don't know. I know one person who was born in 1918. So we haven't experienced anything like this. So, be patient. Understand that things are going to change for the better, that swimming will come back. At what point, we don't know for sure. But swimming will be there. Swimming will be around. People will want to get back to sport, and we will be able to get back to sport at some point in time. So, be patient and remember that, if you're a swimmer, hopefully you love the sport. You do it because you're passionate about it. That's why I was able to do it for 20 years. I always loved to swim. I still miss it. If I to swim the master's program, if the timing worked, I would swim masters. There will be a point in time when you can get back in the pool. So in this period of time when things aren't going the way that you want, remember that, swimming will be back. Remember why you swim. Think about how much you love swimming and remind yourself of your goals, right? I mean, I would hope that a lot of swimmers out there have set some short-term and long-term goals for themselves. So, think about your long-term goals and think about what you can do right now to help yourself achieve them. Certainly, we can't be in the water right now, right? And that's tough for everybody. I know that. I mean, it's even tough for the coaches. But there are a lot of things you can do on land that can help you at least maintain your fitness or improve in certain areas, right? And if you're struggling, there are lots of ways that you can reach out. And I have said this to my swimmers. I can be a point of contact for them if they're struggling with motivation or they're struggling mentally with their mental health at any point in time. But, there's a program through the Canadian Mental Health Association called Talk Today. There are various people that can help you if you're struggling. But again, I think the biggest thing is that we don't lose sight of the fact that we do these things in life because they're important to us, because we love them. And if you love something the way, I hope that you love swimming the way that I love swimming, Brandon, I'm sure the way that you love swimming, having chosen to dedicate your professional life to it, then it makes getting through this easier, right? I think it's going to be hardest for the people that were kind of on the fringe or on the edge of deciding they were going to swim or they weren't anymore. I expect that we'll have some attrition there, but this is not going to be forever. Things will change for the better, and just keep doing the best that you can so that when we do get back in the water, you're not starting from scratch. And that's something I've made known to my swimmers, is that do as much as you can now, right? Because we don't know what the future holds when we're able to get back in, but it'd be certainly tragic for some swimmers to completely abandon their swimming and then have to get back in the water and have it take, a year or two to get back to where they had been previously. We want our swimmers to get in when it's safe, but we want them to get in and still be, enjoying swimming, feeling good, feeling confident, being happy, and still being somewhat in shape. Because as I can attest to, when you're out of the water for a long time, sometimes it takes a little while to get back in the level of fitness that you want to have when you're swimming. I've experienced that a few times in my own career. So stay positive, keep training, do your best, right? There'll be swimming, it'll be around, right? And most of you are probably young enough that you have many, many more years of good, fast swimming left to go.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time here, Rob. I think you've provided a ton of insight, and
you're welcome.
Parents and hopefully some other coaches out there and everything are tuning in and able to watch this and a little bit about your career and where you're at now, and learn from that and make them a better coach. Better.
It's been my pleasure. Really appreciate you you asking me to join you today, Brandon. It's been a lot of fun. It's nice to see you again. You know, I miss seeing you and the other coaching fraternity friends on the pool deck. So thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Definitely. Well, thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too.
Hello, Belleville Beast Swimmers. I hope everybody's doing well. This is another segment of It's Go Time in the Off Time with Coach Knight, and I hope everybody's doing well. I know this is a very long episode, I think Brandon mentioned there's going to be quite a few interviews that are going to be a little longer, so I'm going to rush through this segment a little quicker this time. Last few segments, we went over goals, dreams, habits, affirmations, and then we even did some historic facts about swimming, which I thought was fun. Today, since we don't have as much time, I wanted to keep it a little bit simpler, and I just wanted to relay some advice from pretty much the best swimmer of all time, Michael Phelps, who has 22 gold medals at the Olympic Games. So instead of me giving you advice and Brandon and Kristen telling you, I just thought maybe if you guys heard from one of the greatest swimmers of all time, some of the things that he does, some of the tips and habits that he lives by, maybe you guys can take that to heart, okay? So number one, what he thinks is the most important is to embrace drills, and I happen to agree with him. I'm a big drill person. As anybody who's been with me knows, I love my drills, but he actually says embrace drills is one of the most important things that he did in his entire career. He said long swims are great for improving your endurance, but try drills in order to increase your speed and form. You can swim over and over and over again, but if you focus on the small things, that's what kind of gets you to that next level, making you fast. Number two, I know a lot of you guys have swim bags, but he said get gear, get swimming gear, get goggles and flip boards and pull buoys and straps and all that kind of stuff to help you swim. Don't just swim up and down all the time. Start using equipment. Equipment helps with a lot of muscles, a lot of training, a lot of form, a lot of technique as well. A lot of you guys are on top of that, so everybody's got that covered. Number three is he said hit the weights or exercise. For the older swimmers, I know you guys are weight training. For the younger ones, you guys don't do that just yet, but hit the weights. And he said that push-ups and pull-ups were some of the most essential things that helped him get to that next level when he was training. So any of you guys that can be swimming with me next year, guess what? We're going to be doing an enormous amount of push-ups. Push-ups, push-ups, push-ups. I tend to agree. I think everybody should develop those muscles. Another one is rest and recover. Okay, I think a lot of you guys know sleep is very important. Swimmers need their sleep. You have to recover after practice. You have to eat well. So rest and recover. And number five is train your brain. He says he still to this day writes down goals and keeps them on his nightstand. That's something we spoke about a few weeks ago. But train your brain to be confident, set goals, focus on your habits. Thinking swimmers are fast swimmers. I know swimming is a long sport sometimes, but thinking swimmers, those are the swimmers that achieve goals quicker, focus on habits, they learn from their mistakes and focus on getting to that next level a lot quicker. And the last three things is he focuses on himself. Guys, sometimes in practice, don't focus on everything that's going on. Some swimmers might want to goof off one day. He said, swim in your own lane, focus on yourself. That's the only thing that matters, so keep focusing on yourself and not everything that's around you. He says he never uses the word can't, which I completely agree. Always, just don't ever use that word if you don't have to. And lastly, he said you have to give up a lot. He doesn't mean in the water give up. He means you got to give up spending time with friends. You got to give up sleeping in for morning practices. You got to give up eating properly over fast food, that kind of stuff. So as a swimmer, to get that next level, you have to give up a lot of stuff. Anyway, those are tips from the main man, Michael Phelps. So I just thought I would share those with you today. A lot of great interviews coming up. I hope everybody's doing well. And that's another segment of It's Go Time in the Off Time with Coach Knight. And guys, take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Welcome to the show. Freshman of the Year at Niagara University and Beast alumni, Noah Brooks. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Well, thank you for joining us. And just start off here, kind of how you've been doing during this quarantine period, and what are you doing to stay fit at home and keep active?
So I've been doing good. Been working on school. Just finished my exams yesterday, so I'm all done first year. Pretty happy about that. But I sent in a reminder on my phone just to remind myself, keep me motivated to keep working out. I've been just, basic body weight stuff. I've been trying to go on runs, but I'm not a big runner. So if I get out once or twice a week, I think I'm doing good. And since it's starting to get nicer out, no more snow, hopefully, maybe go for bike rides, longer bike rides, because we're in town, so it'd be nice to do that. Yeah.
Good. Well, what was your first year like down at Niagara University? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the freshman year and the transition from kind of like senior age group swimming here with the Beast to NCAA Division One?
So it was a big change, big culture change for me for sure. Um, Freshman year is all about the dorms, so that was a big part of it. We kind of lucked out. All the guys staying in the dorms were on the same floor, so we were pretty close. And it was a big adjusting period because I did have a traditional style of university room, so it's like what you see, I don't know, in the movies: 2 beds, 2 dressers. So it was a big change for me, being an only child, especially, to get used to sharing such a small space with someone. But it worked out good. Me and my roommate got along, so that was good. Um, and the guys' team was a little smaller, but kind of brought us closer together, which was good. So that was fun. We were always doing something together, going playing basketball. Until a kid on our team got hurt and dislocated his knee, so we weren't allowed to anymore. Um, but yeah, it was a big change, but it was a lot of fun. But we still got everything done that we needed to do. There was for all freshmen that come in, there was first semester study hall. So Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9, we go to the library, and the sophomores would proctor it, make sure we were still going. So that was a big help, because then I always knew I had 2 hours a night set aside for homework. So some nights, if I didn't have homework, I'd just watch Netflix or whatever. But for the most part, I did homework most nights. So that was always good.
What about the swimming itself too? Like you swam, IM here in our program too, but had a lot of success with that too, and backstroke as well as one of his stronger suits. Sprint fly later on, even the 200 wasn't so bad too. So maybe talk to us about swimming a little bit and your events there too. I know that you were doing the 4 IM still as well.
Yeah. So I swam a little bit of everything. No breaststroke, but I'm still working on that. I've been improving that. I actually would catch people on breaststroke if I was feeling lucky and doing good in swimming that day. But I swam 200 IM a lot. I swam 200 back a few times, 100 back a few times. But I swam 50 back. I was on the A relay, IM relay team, and then the A relay team for sprint free as well. Even the at max, I did the 4x200 free relay. So I was on 4 out of the 5 relays there. I swam 400 IM at max, and I got 14th, got a B final out of it, so I was pretty happy with that. Swam 200 back, but I did all right in 200 back, but I didn't swim it enough. So I still did good. I still got a best time, I think, converted still. And then I also swam 100 back as well.
Perfect.
That was good as well. There's a lot of fast backstrokers in our MAC though, our conference, so it was a challenge, but I still did good.
That's good. Well, before we kind of go on to what you're expecting sophomore season and beyond and stuff, let's go back and maybe talk about your time with Beast. Like, what are some of your fondest memories? Or any performances that stand out? Is there some things with training or teammates or anything that you miss or that you can share with us or anything?
Well, Beast was a lot of fun. I will give it that. It was a lot of fun. We did work hard when we had to, but I probably missed the team atmosphere the most because, when it is Division I, so it is a little serious in the pool, and I know it Beast a few of the guys, we would get up to some shenanigans, but we still got our work done, I hoped. But yeah, that was probably being part of the team. Traveling with the team was a lot of fun, and that was a lot of fun this year. We traveled a few times, which I love to do, which was a lot of fun. And especially missing when it would be like the guys at nationals or something. That was probably my favorite moments. Was like me, you, and like Rafiq or Adam or someone, like just the guys. That was probably my favorite moments. And then some performances standing out. I got kind of 2 that popped in my head. Probably my 200 back to make my national cut when I was about 15 or 16, when I had to stay up there with Gracie and Nick, and they drove me home. And then my probably favorite moment of all time was probably my last 200 back at regionals. I know it was just regionals, but I still got first, and I thought that was a kind of good way to go out, because I kind of stopped swimming after that for a little bit, take a break before I went back into first year swimming. So that was probably my favorite performance.
I got to agree with both those performances. They were great. I remember like the final there, waiting around and seeing that big time. So awesome. Just another question here before we move on. Is there anything that you can say that you learned or gained from the Beast, their time with our program and everything too, that helped you prepare or helped you be ready for your time at Niagara?
When we would do Hell Week in November, and near the end of my swimming career with Beast, it kind of turned into Hell Month. So I don't know, everyone just kind of sucked up, and yeah, we did complain, but we still had fun at practice, and we still made things fun. And I think that's the most important thing that you can do in the pool, is even if you do have bad sets or something, really hard sets, you can always make them fun somehow, even by just little comments that you can make, just to make the pool deck even just a happier place and fun place to be around. So I think that's really important that I learned from Beast.
What are you looking forward to for your sophomore year? And are you planning to get ready and possibly be at the postponed Olympic trials next year, or what are you thinking?
So I'm really excited for sophomore year, because like I said earlier, the guys team was a little smaller. So we do have, I think right now, I'm pretty sure this is the number, I think it's 12 incoming freshman guys instead of having, I think it was 9 or 10 guys, just guys. So the team has doubled on the guys side, and there's, I think, 8 freshman girls coming in too. So we're adding some to the girls side as well. We're losing 2 seniors this year, guys. We lost 2 senior guys this year. So we're going to have a lot more guys on the team, which is going to make it a lot more competitive, but still fun, I think, because competitiveness is good to an extent, as long as we don't get too aggressive and try to, I don't know, get too caught up in the moment or something like that. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun with having more competition, more guys to hang out with and stuff like that. And we're all going to be living in the dorms as well. And then a lot of the upperclassmen, some of them are living off campus, but some of them are living in the on-campus apartments, so they're still going to be close. So guys' team can get together and stuff like that.
Yeah, and what about, your plans for competing, or any goals and trials or anything?
Trials, I would like to compete at trials. It all just depends on if I can fit into a long course meet, because I'll most likely have to do it unless we do a long course meet as a team. I'm not too sure what coach is planning on, but if I get the chance to go to trials, I think if I get time, I'm pretty close in the 400 IM converted. I think I'm a second or 2 off in the 4 IM, so I think that's doable, especially with Eric as the new coach. He's a really good coach and stuff like that. So I would like to compete at trials, but also school comes first. And so if it's going to affect my schoolwork, then I might just have to say not this time, maybe next year or something else. But
Definitely. No, and you know what? That's a perfect way to go with it. So obviously school is first. It's student athlete. It's always academics is the priority, kind of that way. So maybe talking as a last question, can you share some or offer some advice to some of the swimmers that are going to be going on to university, and what to expect there when they arrive, or what they can do to prepare ahead of time, so there's a little better comfort zone going into post-secondary?
Definitely just hang in there, because I know it's kind of hard for some athletes to change, like culture change, responsibility change it's a big thing. You're held very accountable. Like if even senior swimming is still you still have to be very accountable, but you're still like, oh, I'm gonna miss practice because I have this trip with school. But with swimming down there, it definitely comes. Yeah, school is very important, but you have enough time in the day that you can get your studying done. There should be no reason why you're missing exams and stuff like that or missing a practice for exams and stuff like that. And they're really good with missing school there too. That's one thing that I like about Niagara. They're really, really focused on the student athlete experience. So we fill out special forms and stuff like that for when we're actually missing class. But the way coach plans, we didn't miss many days other than for a championship meet. But yeah, just keep working out, I guess, at home, trying to stay fit as best you can. You probably will still be a little out of shape when you go back, but you'll get into shape pretty quick. It's quite the change. Practices are pretty intense, but they're still fun, so that's what I like. And I really like the weights that happen. We're doing a lot of weight room, and we were planning on doing a lot of weight room training when we were out of season as well to build up that muscle for the next season, but got postponed, so I got to do it from home. But everything else is, just hang in there. Have fun with it, but not too much fun. That's all I got to really say.
That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This has been perfect here, and so glad to see a Beast alumni swimming over at the other side, just over the other side of the border there in Division I. It's pretty neat to see. So keep up the great work. Thank you so much for doing this, and we'll look forward to seeing how everything goes for you next year.
Alrighty.
We're at gorgeous Robin Lake for the Open Water Championships for the PJ Masks. All right, and they're coming in. They're coming in into the final lap. First up, the winner is Gecko. Second place goes to Owlette. And third place is Catboy. Congratulations to Owlette, Catboy, and Gecko for finishing the open water race. Well, that's it for our show this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Coach Rob and to Noah for providing some incredible interviews. Just like always, we will upload those separately later on this week to Facebook and to YouTube. If you haven't sent in your Just Keep Swimming picture or video, please do so as soon as you can. Again, you just wear a beast cap and goggles and your swimsuit or beast attire and put up any picture you want. Anyhow, next week we have another coach / 2000 Olympian joining us for an interview. As well, we will be speaking to 3 Beast alumni about their post-secondary swimming. And finally, we'll hopefully get all the coaches together to give you a little send-off for the series. So thank you so much for all the time that you've spent with us. And next week, we will wrap everything up. So until then, take care, stay safe. Thanks.
Stay safe. Wash your hands. Bye-bye.